Hey, Philip. Welcome to Support My Launch. Excited for your book launch today.
Yeah, thanks. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, so tell us about your book. It's going to be, available for everybody who's on now, and then recorded for people who want to enjoy it later and get to know who you are and what your book has to offer. So tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll get into the contents of the book.
Um, okay, a little bit about who I am. I mean, here's the book. If you're on, you've definitely seen it by now. Path of Intercession. And man, I'm just I. How do you describe yourself? I don't know. I'm someone who loves Jesus and loves loves pursuing God and then sharing that with other people. Really, which is what I wanted to do with the book. Uh, yeah, should I? You think I should go into my background a little bit, or
Yeah, I mean, what inspired you to write the book? About situations in your past, or just a perspective that you have. Walk us through kind of the framework on what brought about the book as well from your perspective.
um, in a sense, I wasn't planning on writing a book at all, and it just kind of came to me. I think it more or less started as a hypothetical. Well, if I wanted to write a book, I would probably start it out this way, and then I was before I knew it, the next chapter. Well, then I'd need to follow it up with that and this. Before I knew it, I had a really good book outline. So
Hmm.
I was like, "This is worth writing." I wrote it out, and obviously put a lot of work into it, and went over it over and over again. But just before I knew it, I had a book. So, and then I had a little bit of doubt and read over it, and I was like, "Yeah, no, this is good, and this will add value to people's lives." So
Yeah,
went
wow.
for it.
So the subject matter, pathway to intercession. What is that for anybody who doesn't know? And walk us through um, what some of the main highlights in the book are and what they would hope to see and obtain by reading it.
So I would say, I mean, I incorporated. I try to approach everything with a very um, wide, uh, uh, widespread acceptance for anybody who may be approaching it. So I thought of it as anyone could be reading this book, no matter their background and their faith or their upbringing or how they view God or anything. So I started it off in a way that was very welcoming and engaging to every perspective as best as I could. But I wanted to do that without watering it down and without taking away from the richness of the book. And I think that's what I'm proud about with this book the most is I think I pulled that off. It's something that if someone is just kind of feeling that there's more and that there's something out there spiritually and they've never really explored spirituality whatsoever, that they can pick it up and it will take them into deeper spiritual realities and spiritual truth. So I intentionally wrote it that way while at the same time someone who's studied theology or had a spiritual life and growth for the last 30 years, I would hope that they could at least, if they read it, they would at least be engaged, that it would be interesting and engaging for them at the least.
Nice. So you said it's a Christian book, obviously. Is it for different denominations? I understand the subject matter could cross denominational lines, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that's something that is a little bit of my journey was I was brought up in a very what was called an interdenominational church, and I kind of joke that it may as well have been Reformed Catholic. It was a great church, very traditional, um, and so I kind of have had a journey myself of going to different um, denominations over the years and
Hmm.
growing, and God has had me in places I feel like as I've needed certain things from those places. But I tried to write the book, I think any denomination, for the most part, would, if any denominational background would appreciate it. Maybe not agree with there might be 10 to 20%, depending on what you're where you're from, that you might be like, I don't know, or I don't see this the same way. But the majority of the book is still going to be engaging and enriching to you. That's At least that was my goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's get into the actual subject matter, because
Yeah.
there's potentially people that'll see this, participate with it, and then check out your book that have no idea about intercession. So what is it? What is the pathway to intercession? Like, what does that mean to you, and what should it mean to them?
Yeah. So I guess growing up in church as a kid, I always saw the word intercession to me was something I never thought I'd write a book on because it just to me meant um, early morning dusty Bible prayer time, and it just seems so boring and dull. And, okay, so you're pleading at the wall and asking, begging God for things, or telling God you need things or whatever, and it's just um, I think it's not that the church that I grew up at taught it that way, but it's just growing up in church. I think a lot of people see it like that. So for me, intercession has kind of taken on a new meaning over over the years, and especially when I went to write the book, because I never thought I would write a book on intercession, but I needed a paradigm shift. So I think, kind of in doing so, the book is providing that for people, for lots of people as well, and kind of taking what you may have thought intercession was, and either adding to that, or depending on your background, it may completely revolutionize how you see intercession. Um, but I think it goes back to a lot of the Bible and the apostles, and what was actually intended and what was written about for what it looks like to be in communion with God, with our Creator, and just it gets really easy to get stuck in either having that blocked or make it into more than what it needs to be, and having it become some religious ritual rather than just a natural part of being human. So I think part of the book was saying, hey, this is what it really is, and this is what it looked like, and also let's walk you into it. And so I think by the end of the book, because you're really getting a lot of the Christian walk, I think is in the book as well. So it's kind of the whole, like, I think there's not a difference between being an intercessor and being a believer. So the book kind of takes you into that, and hopefully breaks down the divide for people.
So you see, intercession as a relational tool, of sorts, for an individual's walk with God, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's
interesting.
been
And you see them as synonymous too, like, you kind of, you have your walk, with God, and you also have, the pathway of intercession is, one and the same.
yeah, I would say so. And there's, I think individuals may experience a call to certain things, and I make room for that in the book and explain, like, if this is what the Lord's doing in your life, or what um, you may be called into, then here's some examples of what that could look like, and here's the biblical text to back it up. And there's portions of the book that go into that, but a lot of it also is going through people like Brother Lawrence,
Hmm.
and really great grounded examples. And you have, like, Brother Lawrence was a 17th century monk who would wash dishes, and people, he was just so in tune to God and in communion with God, and what he called practicing the presence, that people would come from far away just to watch him wash dishes because of what he was engaging in. And that speaks volumes to what I think is true intercession too.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I imagine there's a lot of people that are, that profess to be Christians, that go to church or have a relationship with God, and they don't talk about intercession. They don't. They're not. They're not familiar with the subject matter, their church doesn't necessarily, quote unquote, participate in, regular intercession, like some do. So is it just a form of prayer, or is it something different?
Well, I would say, in the New Testament, Paul says to pray without ceasing, and I've heard that was quoted a lot to me. And I heard a teaching one time where um, they mentioned that early monks would try to pray for like 30 seconds of every minute to try to be obedient to that and things like that. And this is more of this takes you into what I think the true reality of that is. Um, but also with what you were saying and kind of relating back to the denominational thing, something this this might be a little controversial, but it's kind of where my heart is at with this book. Is that I think that you have kind of two camps within the church and across multiple denominations, and you have the people who are willing to really go into what people would call the fringe stuff or the deeper things of I personally I don't like the phrase the deeper things of God, but a lot of people would label it as that. So I think you have that group of people, and then you have another section of the church in spirituality, and I think it might even apply to more than just the organized church. But you have this other group that's like we see what's going on there, and and there's a lot of times where it minimizes the true message of the gospel, in my opinion. And so then you have this other part of the church that has a genuine love for what God has given us and this message that God's given us of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so then they don't want to touch these things. And I think that comes from a good heart and a good place, but then they don't want to venture into this. And then a lot of times you see churches that minimize or kind of focus on making these things the whole message without remembering the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so what this book, part of what the book does is say, hey, we're gonna keep that as center and keep the I think the deepest spiritual reality and the deepest spiritual truth is the manifestation of God as a person, as Jesus, and it keeps that as the center while also inviting people into um, a healthy kind of discipleship or healthy kind of teaching and engaging on these things that are very like biblical and very spiritual and deserve a place.
Nice. So, I mean, you said something that it's probably interesting for a lot of people. You brought up, Brother Lawrence and praying without ceasing, and what does that even look like? Because obviously you have to sleep, you have to eat. Like practically speaking, like how do you do that?
I think it's like going to the gym a little bit. Um, it's an attention to God and to it's hard to find the right words for it without butchering it, which is why you should get the book. I think I nailed it in there, but it is a tricky thing. It's it's not so much of a practice of, like I said, it takes the ritual out of it, so it's not so much of a um, of just ritual like I need to pray, I need to wake up in the middle of the night and pray. It's an engaging in um, the reality of the kingdom of heaven, honestly. Um, so
So it's a participatory thing. It's not when you say it's not ritual, it's not like you repeat the same things every day.
yeah, and not not to go after ritual either, because I'm like ritual is it's I think neither good nor bad. It's just a tool, but yeah, it's more of a it's like breathing. I think it's meant to be like breathing. Like there's a spiritual component to every human, and um, and we need oxygen and we breathe as we do everything. And it's the same. It's just once we were separated, and now we have this restoration of connection to
Mm-hmm.
the creator, to our creator, and the creator of the whole universe and everything.
Mhm.
And like, so there is an awareness and an intentional setting our intentions and gaze upon that. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know if I really worded that very well, but
Yeah, so it's just not words, is this what I hear you saying? Like, because, when typical people probably read or hear pray without ceasing, and that's a form of intercession, they think like, well, I just have to continually talk.
yeah,
And you're
yeah,
saying that's not the case.
exactly. There's this verse where Jesus in the Bible talks about that my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And like, I think that a lot of times when people go into the church, when they're seeking more, they'll give them a stack of, oh, here's 10 books and here's all the things you need to cross off every day, and 6 times a week you need to do this and that, and it just becomes this burden. And rather than the natural act of engaging with God.
Okay, interesting. So it's a consciousness, it's a heart posture, and it's also action oriented.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also important to understand it's an invitation too. So it's not this jump through these hoops to be good enough or to fix yourself, which is what a lot of the world loves those messages. But
Mhm.
the unique thing about the Christian message is that it's you've been invited to engage with the one who created you and to have that connection restored, and this is what that can look like. And
Mm.
it's an invitation into something greater without it being this burden and this, okay, well, you're not doing good enough and you're falling short. It's, well, we
Mm.
already know that. We already know we're all human.
Mhm.
So this is more of an invitation into something that God has given us as a gift.
Mm. That's really cool. So, essentially, maybe they begin to participate in deeper intercession or a pathway of intercession. What are the results of that? Like, what's the fruit of that process for them if they're just now starting to do that?
I mean, I think the results are endless, with honestly, but I know they've studied prayer, and I think it's when you get to 4 times a week of reading your Bible and praying that there's noticeable difference. Like it's like over 400% change in just your outward expression, your happiness. Like you're not going to be depressed. You feel a sense of purpose, and they're just your demeanor and everything is changed. But I honestly think that there's endless potential. I think it changes people in a spiritual way that we can't quite quantify as well. Um, so it's similar to one of my favorite stories is the Mount of Transfiguration, and it's just this like there is a physical change as the disciples go up to the mountain with Jesus, and I think being in the presence of the one who created us and gave us purpose in life and breathed life into everything in the first place, and having that connection restored and living, walking in it, you can't not be changed. So you can't. I think it changes everything about you.
Nice. So, the results can be noticed in one's life, personally, but then most people think about when they pray, it being a result of some type of situational change. Like you're praying for a material thing, like I need a car or, help me with this problem or situation. You're saying that, first prayer affects you and transforms you and maybe even your spirit more so than even physical, or is it both?
I think it's both. I honestly I've seen people's whole countenance change, and after years of walking with the Lord, like just their face and everything, there's just something you can tell. There's something about them that's been changed, and even walking in more authority and being
Mhm.
like as someone walks in a room and you notice that there's something different. That they're carrying some kind of authority, and that those changes I think are all noticeable. It's obviously it's not why we do it, but it does happen.
So, what are some of the main things that you've seen for yourself?
Okay.
In your own process, kind of walk us through that. Maybe where you didn't have intercession in your life, and then kind of when it started to transpire, what was the result?
Man, there's so many. I put examples all throughout the book too. There's so many examples of things. Because I think of even I've seen people get physically healed from illness, and that's I mean that makes no sense. That doesn't. That's not what I grew up really believing, and I at one point seeing that. That's what I think I wouldn't say started my journey, but catapulted it. Really added the unstoppable kind of momentum to it was seeing my friend get healed when she'd had her toenail ripped off of her toe, and that's so. I mean, that's a noticeable difference, not in exactly me or how I walk or carry myself or anything like that, but that was that's in my book, and I prayed and that she honestly my motives that was my best example because my motives weren't there. I didn't believe it could happen, and I honestly I was stuck at work with someone, and I was in high school, and she was in cross country and had a state meet coming up, and so there was a lot on the line with like college scholarships and stuff. And she ripped the toenail off of her toe. We were lifeguards, so we bandaged it up. She didn't want to go home, and I was just, 17, I think, and she's sitting there complaining about it, and I'm like, I care that she's hurt, but also like I'm stuck here at work for the next few hours with her, and she had the option to leave, and I can't do anything else. So I asked her like, "Do you want me to pray for it?" Because I was thinking she'd be like, "Oh, that's embarrassing." I don't. Never mind. I'm good. I'll stop. But instead, she's like, yes, that'd be great. And so I was like, well, I don't know what I just signed up for, what I just agreed to do. And I was like, hey, God, I know you can do anything. I know you're real, and you heal people in the Bible. I know that from growing up and hearing sermons. So I know you could heal her. So if you could, in Jesus' name, Amen. And it instantly the bleeding stopped, the putzing stopped, and the pain left. And she looked shocked, and she was looking at me, and I was shocked. Like she thought I knew what I was doing. After that, I was like, okay, well, I just saw this happen. I can't explain that away. And she ran without pain. A few days later, in her cross country meet. So, I mean, there's all back to the question of the differences you see. There's so many layers to it and so many different aspects of your life where you see, um, I would say, God's kingdom or the divine reality that's greater than this one kind of impose it onto this lesser reality and kind of come into this world.
Oh, interesting. So, and that's a crazy story, by the way. To tie in like prayer, your own walk, like your own, connection with God to physical miracles is pretty phenomenal, pretty interesting. The way that you made that, connection. But then to say intercession actually unlocks like a heavenly realm, like a kingdom realm for your own life today. That's a new concept for a lot of people because you know I guess those that would be maybe interested in this book and see the Christian walk as the path for themselves, um, they'd see heaven and the kingdom as something for later. That's like a tomorrow thing, like when you die,
Yeah.
so help us through that. Like you are saying, there's a pathway of intercession today, and you start to participate in these experiences and like a different life today, based on what heaven has to offer. Is that right?
Yeah, I would say so. I think there's a lot of theological nuance to it too. So that's something I'm kind of a nerd on. So that's one of the reasons my book kind of goes through some of that stuff as well. But yeah, the church gets hung up on all this stuff is for when you die, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding on that. But I would say again, on the other side, the other camp kind of goes, well, it's all about right now, and I think that kind of misses the message of Jesus in the Bible as well. Um, it's available right now, and we should go for that and believe in that. And um, but at the same time, there is like we're going to exist after we're done here. I think a lot of people, even Christian, non-Christian, um, believe that we continue to exist in some form. So this is a way, like the book kind of introduces those concepts as well. It's saying like, there's a spiritual world and reality that's not this one, and we've been invited into that. But also when Jesus talks about these people are going to inherit things, I think it's important to know that I've never seen anybody inherit anything at their own funeral. So
Okay.
a lot of the church loves to talk about your inheritance when you die, and I think
Mm.
I've read that part, and I don't see it being anything about like I've never seen anyone go to their uncle's funeral or their grandpa's funeral and say, "What did Grandpa get?" Like afterward,
Mhm.
what will say that Grandpa is supposed to walk away with?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
he's dead. So it's actually what I believe the Bible's teaching is we inherit this when Jesus dies. Like we inherit when someone else dies. That's how inheritance works. So yeah, I think that we have access to the kingdom of God and this greater spiritual reality and spiritual world through Jesus and with Jesus, and because he died, it's our inheritance.
That's an interesting point. True, in terms of like when you die, like what do you get? Um, you know, it goes to someone else, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I've never thought about it that way. So walk us through some of your support tiers. It looks like you've got signed copy available as well, so people will be getting a signed copy from you, right? If they order that particular tier.
Yeah, yeah, and they can request a message or something as well if they wanted to. But yeah, there's signed copy, which I have at 15 until the launch, so that's going to go up, and then it's going to be available as well on Amazon and continue to be available through this site. Um,
Nice, yeah.
yeah, I have the two tiers.
That's great. So, what do you hope to see with the book? Like, what do you, where do you hope that it goes? Like, what's the effect that you desire to see?
I think ultimately the whole purpose of all of all of the religion or engaging in spirituality at all is I wanted to take people into connection with God in a way that could revolutionize their walk with God. So that's my heart behind it is to say is to take them into this whole world of intercession, which in a way is I believe is written in Scripture as the Christian walk, um, and just how we're meant and it's not exactly how we're meant to live. Probably isn't the right words for it because that comes across to a lot of people the wrong way. I would say it's how we're invited to live now that we've been restored to that connection with our Creator that had been cut off. Um, so this book is kind of going into that invitation of saying of hopefully transforming people's spiritual life altogether.
That's awesome. So, 7 days after this launch date today, the support tiers will end. So that's
Yeah.
going to be exclusive for supportmylaunch.com. But wherever this video goes, uh, they can order books wherever the books are sold through obviously Amazon as well. The link will be in this page. But where can people get a hold of you if they want to follow you, if they want to continue their journey with you? Where would you lead them?
I mean, you can reach out to me individually at Path of Intercession at gmail.com as an email. Um, then I would say I may need to get some kind of social media page going. I don't have one right now. Um, but yeah, I'm searchable on social media, and I may make a page for the book or just an author page as well. I haven't gotten into that yet.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I know everyone that has an Amazon or a book on Amazon, the author can be followed there. So maybe they can follow you on the author side of Amazon as well.
Yeah.
Um, in addition to buying your book, so checking out your book. Is there anything else you want to leave us with or say to people that are curious about the subject matter, but indecisive because their pastor doesn't talk about it as much before we conclude?
I would say, well, I'd say for non-Christians, this isn't something meant to indoctrinate you. It's not like, oh, you're signing up to now you have to be Christian to enjoy this book. So I wrote it with that very evangelical, I guess I would say, heart behind it. So it's gonna be beneficial for anybody who thinks that there's an interest there in reading it. And then I think for most people, um, that I would say if your pastor doesn't talk about it, this is something that he might actually be interested in. And I know there's groups out there that are like, well, I'm who I've heard say I'm the guy that your pastor warned you about, and he won't like my stuff, and they kind of have like an edgier approach to some of these topics. But I would say the way I approached this, give your pastor my book too, and then have him tell you what he may agree with 80% and not agree with 20, or love the whole thing and say I've never heard it put this way. But yeah, I think it's a good resource in that way. I feel confident behind it. Of it's gonna be it's gonna serve and enrich people's lives in a way, and it shouldn't upset anyone too much.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on the book, on finishing the book and making it available to everybody. Huge achievement there. I heard a stat the other day that said 3% of people, decide to write a book, and only like 1% finish, out of the people that start writing the book. So you're in the select few. You're in the,
Nice.
that's pretty incredible. So congrats, and appreciate you being on Support My Launch. And for everybody interested in the book, obviously you know where to get it, and reach out to Philip to follow the journey wherever he may take you. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Take care, everyone.